Waking up is a peculiar experience for Kinjirou Sakamachi. His sister, Kiria, has the habit of welcoming him to the day with ruthless wrestling attacks. This particular style of waking up was inherited from their mother, a wrestling expert who taught her daughter the secrets of the combat art. Kinjirou's mother is someone he fears even more than his sister, and that is a considerable feat given how relentless Kiria can be. In addition to the complications at home, at school, Kinjirou encounters Subaru Konoe, the butler of Kanade Suzutsuki, the most popular girl in the school. Kanade, besides being the most admired student, is the daughter of the school principal. Subaru works tirelessly to satisfy all of Kanade's needs and has a legion of followers within the institution. However, Kinjirou's life is not as inviolable as it seems. Unlike Kanade, he does not enjoy popularity, and paradoxically, this is due to his irrational fear of women. Simple contact with a girl makes Kinjirou's nose bleed, a phenomenon that arouses the curiosity and mockery of his classmates. Everything changes when, in the middle of one of his panic attacks, Kinjirou accidentally discovers the truth about Subaru. The butler everyone believes is a boy is actually a girl. The revelation provokes Subaru's anger, who decides to erase Kinjirou's memories of this discovery. This will trigger a series of events that will lead the two youngsters to a physical confrontation, where Subaru will be surprised by Kinjirou's resilience to punishment. After an intense fight, Kinjirou finally faints and Subaru, concerned for his well-being, takes him to the school infirmary. As Kinjirou looks around, he realizes that Kanade is by his side, who, with her typical calm and charm, reveals the truth about Subaru. It turns out that Subaru is actually the only daughter of the Suzutsuki family's butler, and being a woman, she could not continue the tradition of being a butler in the family. After repeated insistence, Kanade's father finally made a deal with the young Subaru. It was agreed that she would spend 3 years hiding her true gender, thus allowing Subaru to become the next butler of the family. This situation casts shadows on both the family's history and Kanade's sadistic attitude towards Kinjirou, as she enjoys having him under her control. Despite the threats and apparent intimidation from Kanade, she reveals the true reason behind her behavior. The main reason for keeping Kinjirou tied to her whims is to protect Subaru's secret, whom Kanade deeply cares for, and she mentions that she has Subaru tied up in the other bed to prevent her from killing Kinjirou. The next day, Kinjirou wakes up again with blows and is surprised to find that Subaru has been sent by Kanade to watch over him. Things at the mansion are changing as several employees notice that Subaru has adjusted her schedule to accommodate Kinjirou, all to keep an eye on the young man. Under Kanade's orders, Subaru must accompany Kinjirou to school every day to ensure that he does not reveal the butler's secret. This new dynamic causes rumors about the relationship between Kinjirou and the butler Subaru to start circulating at school. The news disturbs the members of Kanade's fan club known as 4S, who vow to destroy the young man. However, this leads to a sort of civil war within the group and the creation of a warm group of observers interested in the details of the relationship between Kinjirou and Subaru. With the goal of overcoming Kinjirou's phobia, Kanade devises a plan. She forces the young man to go on a fake date with Subaru and gives him a voucher for an order. If he so wishes, Subaru will be forced to obey any command Kinjirou gives her. During the date, Subaru changes her butler outfit for more feminine attire. The date seems to work, and the two young people surprisingly get along well, which is extremely strange considering that at the beginning of all this, Subaru wanted to. Continuing the date, in a moment of confidence, Kinjirou confesses to Subaru that his fear of women originated from the wrestling sessions his mother, a famous wrestler, and his sister practiced with him. The wrestling practices Kinjirou mentions were not exactly friendly, rather, they were brutal beatings. The only way to stop them was when Kinjirou's nose bled, as his mother and sister did not want to stain the carpet. This trauma left him with a reflex of nosebleeds when he gets close to a woman. The date between Kinjirou and Subaru is interrupted when Kanade calls Subaru on the phone and orders her to touch Kinjirou to provoke a nosebleed, and just when she's about to achieve it, Kinjirou also receives a call from Kanade in which she asks him to use the voucher she gave him. When Subaru learns of the agreement between Kanade and the young man, she gets upset but knows she cannot refuse a direct request from her mistress, so she adopts a submissive attitude and asks Kinjirou to give her an order, assuring him that she will fulfill it without hesitation. Here's where Kinjirou, in an attempt not to seem bad, asks Subaru to dance like a sheep. Although initially Subaru seems furious, she obediently follows the order, thus strengthening their relationship. Even after this episode, Subaru treats Kinjirou with more affection. At that moment, Subaru tries to clean the protagonist's bloody nose, but the date is interrupted by an unexpected visit from Kinjirou's sister, who, curiously, believes that Subaru is a male butler disguised as a woman to go out with Kinjirou. Kira had been following them all afternoon and began to worry about the possibility of losing her brother if he fell in love with another woman. So she decides to use her wrestling skills on Subaru to make her stay away from her brother once and for all, but the young butler was nothing like the submission that Kinjirou always showed to her. and when she tries to attack her, she knocks her off with a single blow, thus ending the date. The next day, Subaru goes to the protagonist's house to take him to class. Despite the tension in the relationship between Kinjirou and his sister, bigger problems arise when the day of the medical exams arrives and Subaru must pass them without anyone discovering her true gender. Amid complications, both young people help each other, allowing Kinjirou to gradually overcome his fear of touching women. This also deepens their friendship and surprisingly makes Kinjirou not have a nosebleed when Subaru touches him. Grateful, Kanade explains that Subaru has found her first friend since she started school. However, upon returning home, Kinjirou faces a new problem. His sister, now convinced that Subaru is a man, falls in love with her. It seems that Subaru's display of power during the previous day's date completely struck her, so Kinjirou decides to tell Kanade that his little sister had fallen in love with Subaru because she defeated her during their date at the park the other day. The waifu realizes that it is a golden opportunity to make everyone think that Subaru is definitely a man. So she decides to pose as Kinjirou's girlfriend and proposes a double date at the water park to fix the situation. During the date, Kanade gets closer and closer to our protagonist, and we realize that there is good chemistry between them too. So much so that the waifu reveals to Kinjirou that she and Subaru were kidnapped in the past in that very place, and that their relationship changed drastically since then. Additionally, she mentions that Subaru also has a phobia just like him, but Kanade decides to end the conversation before revealing what it is and takes the opportunity to get close to the protagonist and cause another of his nosebleeds. While they are enjoying the park, a little girl is about to drown in the pool and Kinjirou rescues her, but this causes another of his fainting spells. When they wake up, they receive a message from some kidnappers through a video, in which they say that both Kanade and her little sister have been kidnapped and their lives are in danger, and the criminal pulls out a cane, causing great anguish to Subaru. At that moment, Kinjirou tries to ask her about her weakness, and she confesses that she has a great phobia of knives, which weakens her to the point of fainting, just like he does when touched by a woman. Faced with such a situation, our protagonist decides to go alone to rescue Kanade and her sister. In the construction site where the kidnappers are, he confronts the criminal. However, he is easily overpowered, and Kinjirou is about to be defeated when unexpected help arrives. It's a renewed Subaru, who overcomes her phobia and steps in to defeat the kidnapper easily. Where they finally defeat the criminal, Subaru and Kanade have a conversation in which they manage to resolve their past differences and become close friends again. It is then that we realize the kidnapper is actually Subaru's father, and Kanade confesses that the kidnapping was actually a plan to help Subaru overcome her fear of knives. This doesn't sit well with Kinjirou as he had received a genuine beating. Our protagonist is taken to Kanade's family mansion to recover from the beating he received during the fake kidnapping. It is then that Subaru's father confesses that he doesn't like Kinjirou as he believes he's trying to take advantage of his daughter, and for that reason, he enjoyed giving him a beat and would do it again. Despite this, he thanks Kinjirou for his help and strengthens his relationship with Subaru, whom he considers his first love. Kinjirou and Subaru have a tender moment, but the happiness is interrupted when our protagonist's sister enters and realizes that there is still something between the two of them, so she begins to chasing around the mansion. Kinjirou is delighted to have a week without beatings and the chance to eat what he likes since his little sister will be away at camp. However, his tranquility is threatened when a desperate Subaru arrives at Kinjirou's house seeking refuge. At that moment, he receives a call from Kanade, who tells him that Subaru has been kicked out of the mansion and suggests that Kinjirou let her stay at his home. But Kinjirou, more interested in resting and eating, shows little interest in the offer. The young maid does not accept these terms, as her role as a butler also includes taking care of her master physically, so she's not going to let him laze around all day and forces him to practice martial arts. While they are together, Kinjirou's sister returns earlier than expected, having injured her arm trying to defeat a bear, and is delighted to see her brother. The situation becomes even more complicated when Kinjirou's sister discovers that Subaru will be staying with them for a few days and shows interest in seducing the butler. Just when things seem complicated enough, Kinjirou begins to fall ill, and to make matters worse, Kanade arrives at the house with a suitcase dressed as a maid, asking to stay and offering her services as a maid. However, our protagonist doesn't want so many people in his house and tells the waifu that he already has a butler and doesn't need her. This triggers a competition between Kanade and Subaru to determine who is the better servant. The contest is interrupted when an exhausted Kinjirou collapses onto the bed, worrying his little sister. Subaru takes care of Kinjirou while he is sick, but the butler's extreme tactics worry everyone. In this situation, Kanade invites Kinjirou for a walk to explain Subaru's attitudes. By the riverside, Kanade reveals that her relationship with her father became strained after the fake kid at the water park. The tension between them made the work environment too tense, and Kanade's father decided they had to leave the house until they reconciled. At that moment, Subaru appears looking for Kinjirou and confesses that her extreme methods are due to her concern for his health, as her father had died suddenly from a strange illness in the past. Kinjirou promises to recover and before returning to the Suzutsuki mansion, asks Subaru to reconcile with her own father. At school the next day, Kanade acknowledges Kinjirou's bravery and thanks him with a kiss, their first kiss, something they both admit is a unique experience. On his way to school, Kinjirou is accidentally hit by Usami Musamani, who turns out to be his sister's friend. She gets up and hits Kinjirou, and in the infirmary, Kinjirou feels uncomfortable around Subaru, but confesses to her about his first kiss without clarifying that it was with Kanade, and admits that he would like to repeat it. Subaru misunderstands the situation, thinking he is referring to the time she gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation at the water park. The situation becomes more intriguing when Kanade interrupts the conversation and suggests organizing a cafe for men to dress as women and vice versa, with the aim of experiencing what it feels like to go to school dressed as the opposite gender. Meanwhile, on the school terrace, Kinjirou encounters Usami, who demands that he go on a fake date with her because she is deeply in love with Subaru. She shows him various photos where the butler is dressed as a revealing that she has been following them for weeks. She also confesses that she is a member of Kanade's Butler fan club. Furthermore, Usami reveals that during a school festival, Subaru's fan club, 4S, will face off against the warned group of observers in an all-out war. At that moment, Subaru arrives on the terrace and interrupts the conversation between our protagonist and his blackmailing waifu. To protect her, he agrees to go on a fake date with Usami, which greatly angers Subaru and leads to another beating for our protagonist. The date seems to go badly due to Usami's demanding nature, but in the end, Kinjirou manages to win her friendship, and by the end, the pink-haired waifu even seems to start having feelings for our protagonist. After the date, they part ways until the next day, where they will pretend to be a couple at the school festival. The preparations for the school festival are in full swing. During the school fair, many students dress up in costumes. Seeing Subaru in feminine clothes, everyone assumes she is a boy dressed as a giant, making the cross bar a huge success. However, despite the event's popularity, Subaru seems upset about something that isn't clear. The fake date between Kinjirou and Usami seems to go well, but is interrupted when a jealous Subaru decides to watch over the two young people and accompanies them everywhere. This situation annoys Usami, who starts to grow fond of Kinjirou while also feeling a bit resentful towards Subaru for interrupting her perfect date with our protagonist. In the midst of this peculiar situation, the three encounter Kureha, who treats Usami very kindly. However, Subaru does not respond in the same manner. Usami confesses to Kinjirou that she is envious of his younger sister's open and carefree attitude. This revelation makes Usami melancholic and lose interest in the fake date, freeing Kinjirou from his obligations. At that moment, our protagonist is attacked by a girl in a chic costume who introduces herself as Narumi Nakuru, representing the warm observer group of Subaru. She treats Kinjirou kindly and warns him about Usami's true dark intentions. Usami then appears and delivers a spectacular kick to Nakuru's head, preparing to attack Kinjirou as well, but just before she does, Subaru arrives to defend him and easily takes care of the waifu, who runs away, unable to believe that her platonic love had confronted her in such a way. At that moment, Kinjirou confesses to Subaru that he agreed to go out with Usami only to protect her from the obsession of her fan clubs. So Subaru proceeds to wake Nakuru to interrogate her, and she confesses to Kinjirou that a joint meeting of the two Subaru fan clubs is taking place in one of the school buildings. Indeed, in an old school building, the two fan groups, Subaru's S4 and the Observer Group, 4S, are facing off in the middle of the school festival. Kinjirou and Subaru find themselves among them, hiding, and are surprised to discover that the representative of the S4 club is none other than Kanade. The situation becomes tense when the young people are discovered, and to avoid being beaten by Subaru's fan group, Kanade decides to organize a quiz contest with the Butler as the main topic. In the quiz contest, both clubs get the answers right. Kinjirou, although he knows the answers due to his closeness to Subaru, maintains a neutral appearance. However, when everything seems to be going as planned, the final question arises: guess who Subaru's first kiss was with? The obvious answer would be the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation at the water park, but in an unexpected twist, Kinjirou angrily confesses that, in his memory, his first kiss was with Kanade, and he confesses his love for her in front of everyone. However, Kanade surprises everyone by rejecting Kinjirou and leaves the building. Kinjirou follows her and confesses that the declaration of love was just a lie to make the clubs stop bothering him. Kanade responds by saying that Usami resigned from the S4 club after her fight with Subaru. Worried about Usami's seemingly drastic decision, Kinjirou runs to meet her, and the two reconcile, adding more complexities to the school festival. To complete their reconciliation, Kinjirou introduces her to his friends, who accept her into the group without hesitation. Grateful, Yuzami promises to find a way to cure Kinjirou's phobia of women. The holidays begin, and Kinjirou is on his way home. When he arrives, he realizes that Subaru is waiting for him. They start chatting amicably, and suddenly our protagonist begins to feel dizzy. Subaru holds him as he faints, and curiously, while holding him, the butler notices the aroma of a stew and the smell of a woman. After fainting again, Kinjirou wakes up in an unfamiliar place with Kanade, the young psycho, who confesses that she ran away from home to have her own vacation because her parents wanted to go somewhere else. She had been planning this escape for a long time with the sole intention of definitively curing our protagonist's phobia of women. So, along with Kanade and Subaru, our protagonist spends the day at the beach, being attended to by his two waifus in swimsuits. Later, they decide to go eat and discover that the place is run by Kureha, Yuzami, and Nakuru. These three girls, pursued by a shark and separated from their group, were forced to work there after losing their money. Worried that the girls might discover Subaru's secret, Kinjirou runs to put glasses on the butler, who is in a bikini. Surprisingly, the disguise works, and Kanade introduces the young woman as Punuri, the butler's cousin. Yuzami doesn't seem to believe the cousin's story, but she also misunderstands the situation and thinks it's just Subaru disguised as a Yuzami grows increasingly closer to our protagonist, which Kanade doesn't like much. To make her jealous, she tells Yuzami that she and Kinjirou are dating and in love, but Yuzami doesn't buy it and says that the previous night she was actually with our protagonist and even cooked him a stew. This conversation is clearly overheard by Subaru, who runs away disappointed upon learning that Kinjirou had spent the night with Yuzami, remembering the smell of a woman and stew she noticed when she prevented him from fainting. Kinjirou runs desperately to find Subaru and tells her that nothing happened between him and Yuzami, and that it was all her idea to treat his phobia of women. They reconcile. Back with the group, Kanade invites everyone to spend the rest of their vacation at the inn. However, they are interrupted by Subaru's father, who demands that the young women return to the mansion. Kanade and Subaru pretend not to know the butler and threaten to report him to the police, which saddens the poor man. At that moment, Kinjirou recognizes the sad expression on Subaru's face. Later that night, Kinjirou has trouble sleeping, being completely surrounded by women, so he decides to go for a bath in the hot springs of the inn. In the bath, Kinjirou has a conversation with Subaru's father, who disapproves of the boy's relationship with his daughter. The next day at the beach, Subaru is still using her Punuri disguise, and everyone still considers her a woman. At the local fair, Kanade continues pretending to be Kinjirou's girlfriend, infuriating Yuzami and provoking a fierce competition between them to prove who is better. However, our protagonist notices Subaru's absence and decides to look for her. On the way, Kinjirou encounters Subaru's father again, who reveals that Subaru's mother is buried on that island. If they had gone on vacation with Kanade's parents, the young butler would have missed the chance to visit her mother's grave. Kinjirou finds Subaru in the cemetery and consoles her, attempting to hug her, but she refuses due to her gynophobia. Despite this, Kinjirou insists, and during the hug, Kinjirou's nose doesn't bleed, but the physical effort leaves him exhausted, causing him to faint again. Later, Kinjirou wakes up in the infirmary and learns that a paintball tournament is about to begin, where one of the prizes is a key from the festival queen. Kinjirou fights bravely and skillfully, winning the tournament. It's night, and they are enjoying the fireworks. Kinjirou and Subaru plan for the next semester. Kinjirou trusts that, although things might get more complicated, he will face them with a new attitude since he has her as a friend. However, Subaru confesses that she wants to be more than just friends. Yuzami got Kinjirou a job at a maid cafe. Although Kinjirou is not very happy with the situation, he agrees to work there for one day as a favor because she helped him copy a school assignment. Now the two young people are co-workers at the cafe. During his break, Kinjirou remembers the moment under the fireworks when Subaru asked him to be more than friends but quickly changed her mind. Kinjirou wonders if he will always be alone and is interrupted when the cafe owner asks them to attend to a very special customer. It turns out to be Kanade, who is hiding from an overprotective Subaru and decides to spend time at the cafe. Meanwhile, Subaru is desperately searching for her mistress, as she is not allowed to lose sight of her in this way. In her search, she ends up working at a cafe run by butlers. Back at the maid cafe, Kanade enjoys teasing poor Kinjirou and Yuzami. However, after a while, she loses interest and leaves. Just as she starts to get bored, Nakuru and Kureha, the new part-time employees, enter the cafe. Meanwhile, Subaru, in an attempt to flee from the Butler cafe, caused significant damage to the establishment and is now obliged to work to pay for the repairs. Being an excellent butler, Subaru quickly becomes the best employee there. Back at Kinjirou's job, his gynophobia is triggered again, causing him to faint. When he wakes up, Kanade is upset and accuses him of having a risk for maids, sowing discord between him and his friends, especially with Usami, who has feelings for him. When the situation is about to explode, Subaru appears and removes Kanade from the place. At that moment, Kinjirou chases after Subaru and confronts her about her words the other day. Subaru explains that she misspoke and that when she told Kinjirou she wanted to be more than friends, she meant to be better friends. Although the explanation doesn't entirely convince Kinjirou, they decide to part ways, each heading home. At school, Kanade has a meeting with the video game development club. Using her cunning, she convinces the members to program a game according to her specifications, as it was a gift for someone very special. Meanwhile, Kinjirou's sister is turning 16 and decides to celebrate with her new friends. The celebration starts at Usami's house, a cute apartment that is supposedly haunted and full of ghosts. Although Kureha is terrified in the place, Usami, who is used to ghosts, downplays the situation and continues with the birthday party. Nakuru gifts the birthday girl a pair of glasses, and Usami gives her a pillow with the image of the butler, Subaru. The celebration continues at the maid cafe, where the entire group dresses up for the occasion to pamper Kureha at her birthday party. It's then that Kanade gifts Kureha an exclusive fighting video game featuring her friends as playable characters. Kureha is very happy and recalls how her brother has always been there for her during her birthdays, gifting her a giant teddy bear that she uses to practice her fighting moves. However, last year on her 15th birthday, her brother couldn't accompany her because he preferred to go to a concert, leaving the girl to spend the day with her friends. Despite this, Kureha acknowledges that although her brother wasn't with her on her last birthday, he is always by her side. Inspired by this revelation, the young girl returns home to find a surprise box in the living room. Inside the box is a new teddy bear and a note from her brother, where he tells her that although she was angry with him for missing her birthday the previous year, what he really noticed was that she wasn't angry but sad. He promises never to let her down again, and the two siblings embrace. The new semester begins and Subaru can't get Kinjirou out of her mind, clearly showing that her desire to be his best friend was just a cover for her true feelings. As they walk to school, Subaru warns that per Kanade's orders, the treatment for Kinjirou's phobia of women is going to be intensified. However, they are interrupted when Usami speeds by on a motorcycle, forcing Subaru to once again save Kinjirou from being hit. Later at school, Kanade invites them to lunch on the school's terrace to enjoy the delicious food from her mansion, leaving Kinjirou amazed by the taste. However, the surprise doesn't end there as Subaru suddenly starts acting strangely. Kanade deduces that Subaru's odd behavior may be due to the white wine added to his meal, which could have into him. Kinjirou takes Subaru to the infirmary, but he is surprised when Kanade starts making a strange noise that attracts the attention of other students. Back in the infirmary, Subaru explains to Kinjirou that the noise is a hiccup, which causes him to worry. Concerned about the hiccup, which makes Subaru look so cute that everyone around loses control, Kinjirou tries to find a remedy. This leaves Kinjirou alone with Kanade, who then pounces on him to question him about his relationship with Subaru. Minutes later, Subaru returns with a cure for the hiccup, but Kanade is already cured, leading to the suspicion that it might have been a strategy to interrogate Kinjirou. With Kanade's problem resolved, Subaru and Kinjirou resume their daily activities. Completely relaxed, they walk through the school hallways only for a distracted Kanade to trip and fall down the stairs, injuring her ankle. Subaru, horrified, fails to prevent the fall. At the Kanade family's private hospital, Subaru thanks Kinjirou for his support. However, they are interrupted by Kanade's father, who informs Subaru of her responsibilities as she allowed her mistress to be harmed in her presence. Upset by her father's decision, Kanade vows to talk to him immediately to fix the situation. Although Subaru hopes this will solve everything, Kanade's father explains that Subaru will no longer be Kanade's maid, but will be allowed to return to school dressed as a woman. Subaru runs off distraught, knowing that all her hard work to become the family's maid was for nothing. However, Kinjirou catches up with her, trying to comfort her. Subaru thanks him and gives him a kiss on the cheek before running off again, leaving Kinjirou collapse in the middle of the street. Usami wakes up the unconscious Kinjirou in the middle of the road. After thanking her, Kinjirou sets out to find Subaru and eventually locates her at the same spot where they last saw the fireworks, knowing it is an important place for both of them. Seeing that Subaru is feeling down, Usami offers to keep her company at the inn, which Subaru agrees to, though her father is not entirely convinced. That night, the two solidify their friendship to the point of falling asleep holding hands, a significant step for Kinjirou. The next day, Kanade searches for the young women. Kinjirou returns home while Subaru and Kanade head back to the mansion to resume their duties alongside the other staff members. The following day, Subaru, worried, notices that Kanade is at school without her faithful maid. Kanade informs her that Subaru is transferred to another school. The news shocks Kinjirou and the rest of the school, where Subaru's fan club members mourn the loss of their beloved maid. At school, a new student arrives named Puniru, who the classmates recognize as Subaru's cousin. Both Kureha and her friends welcome her into their group. Kinjirou encounters his friends in the school hallway and upon recognizing Subaru, invites her to lunch. This surprises everyone around due to the unexpected acceptance of the invitation by the young woman. On the school terrace, while Kinjirou talks with Subaru, he tries to convince her that she misses her life as a maid. Subaru agrees as it gave more meaning to her life, but mentions that it is out of her control. Kinjirou tells her that he will help her and decides to make a deal with his enemies in the dark hallways of the school. He organizes with Subaru's fan club members to collect as many signatures as possible, which will allow her to return as Kanade's maid. The signature drive is a success, and to everyone's delight, the maid returns to school. The groups gather and Kanade explains that Punyaru, the maid's cousin, transferred schools after just one day of classes. At this point, Kanade also has a moment of connection with Kinjirou, thanking him for everything he did and asking if he will be able to protect Kanade in the future. That night, Subaru appears dressed as a woman to thank Kinjirou for everything he did for her. As a gesture of appreciation, she kisses him on the lips, causing Kinjirou to faint. The next day, the two friends head to school, contemplating what the future holds for them but happy to be together. And so, this story comes to an end.